that. Jack, can I put it to you, can I ask you, how can you explain your support for the Croke Park deal, which failed to reverse the public sector cuts, given that you threatened strike action if the public sector cuts weren't reversed?
Because we had a negotiation as a result of the action which was underway, and because the conclusion of the negotiation provides the best way of ensuring that pay is protected. We have a means, a framework of recovering pay in the medium term. Jobs are protected, pensions are protected, and people who work in the public service have a means of influencing the restructuring of the public service, which is inevitable, so as to ensure that it reflects the interests of the citizens in a way that's compatible with the people who work in the public service, as distinct from the interests of those who simply want to dismantle the public service and make a profit out of providing services or appearing to provide them. And because we see, based on our analysis of the situation in which we find ourselves in this country, that this is the best way of achieving our objectives. And whereas we might possibly do somewhat better, when you weigh up what can feasibly be achieved by engaging in industrial conflict against what would be lost, this is the best way forward. It's the best of the alternatives available. That's the conclusion that we've arrived at.
Yeah, that all seems very plausible, but the fact is that a few months ago you were threatening strike action unless public sector pay cuts were reversed. Then you went in to negotiation with the government and accepted a deal where there was no question of reversing public sector pay cuts as of now.
No, but I disagree with you.
As of now?
Because the mechanism that is provided...
No, there is no question of reversing public sector pay cuts as of now.
Yeah.
Isn't that right? And you accepted a deal that didn't reverse the public sector pay cuts. You said you were in favour of strikes to achieve that, and yet you agreed to a deal that doesn't achieve that.
Can I correct you there, Vincent, for a second? I never said that we would achieve the reversal of the pay cuts overnight. What we have here is a mechanism...
You said that unless the pay cuts were happened, there would be strikes in the public service. That's what you said.
Did I say that?
You did, yes.
Did I say that we'd reverse them overnight?
No, you didn't say anything. Don't mind to reverse them overnight. You're throwing sand in people's eyes by raising this red herring.
I am not throwing sand on people's eyes. That is an irresponsible statement to make at this critical time. The point about it is that the mechanism that is provided for in this particular proposal sets out a means by which the pay cuts can be reversed over time, with priority being afforded the people on €35,000 a year and less.
But great bombast, you were on this programme a number of months ago where you said that unless the public sector pay cuts were reversed, there would be strikes. The public service pay cuts aren't reversed. Not alone are there not strikes, but you come to a deal which more or less consolidates the existing situation.
Which provides for a mechanism by means of which those pay cuts will be reversed.
Which may result in some of the pay cuts being reversed. May result.
Yes, but it provides a means.
What were you doing threatening strikes then, when you didn't think that it was any way possible to reverse the public sector pay cuts?
But the thing about it is that the mechanism that's available in this particular proposal provides for that.
What were you doing? Threatening. You came on this programme with great bombast, threatening strikes. There would be strikes unless the public sector pay cuts were reversed. Then you go in like a lamb into negotiations and come out with nothing. Essentially, that's what happened.
As a matter of fact, I wasn't in those negotiations at all. But leaving that aside, the thing about it is that we now have a proposal, the effect of which provides for a means by which the pay cuts can be reversed over time, with priority being afforded to people on €35,000 a year or less.
What credibility do you have at all in relation to this, given all your bombast of a few months ago and then your limp climb down now?
Well, let's see what the result of the ballot is.
I'm asking you, what credibility do you have?
Because I'm not the judge of my credibility.
Maybe you have a view about your credibility.
I have attempted, along with the other people in our union, to make a judgment as to what is the best way of achieving our objectives in the context of the situation in which we find ourselves.
All right.
And what are our objectives?
I'll finally ask you this. Why did you come in here a few months ago and make these bombastic threats that unless the public sector pay cuts were reversed, there would be strikes? Why did you do that?
Actually, what I said was here in this studio back in January was that what was necessary for all of us in the public service unions to do was to make it clear that unless the cuts were reversed and unless there was a negotiation to achieve agreement, we would gradually ramp up a campaign of industrial action which would make it impossible or virtually impossible for government to function. And I can recall, and I can recall you taking issue with me on the subject in relation to whether or not that was democratic or not.
I did.
Yeah, but the thing about it is that now there is a proposal.
But the public service pay cuts weren't reversed.
But the public service pay cuts...
You were all bombast and threatening militant talk a few months ago, and then you collapse, you give in.
But we're not giving in. That's like suggesting that the people in the Republican movement gave in the Good Friday Agreement. We have a means by which we can achieve our objective without jeopardising the interests of the people who we represent and without jeopardising everybody else's interests in the country.
I just wonder why you bothered coming in here and making all these threats a number of months ago when you clearly didn't mean it.
Are you alleging that I was being dishonest?
Well, it appears like that, yeah.
Yeah, well, there's no point in me staying here any longer if that's the way you're going to conduct your business here.
Well, no, I'm just saying that is. I'm not saying that is the way it is. I'm saying that's the way it appears.
Many people disagree with me. Many people disagree with me on the judgments that I make, and perhaps they're not all correct. The members of the union are in the process now of deciding democratically on their assessment on all of this. But very few people, quite frankly, suggest that I'm being dishonest or dishonourable, even people on the other side. But you've taken it upon yourself tonight to call into question
I said that's the way it is. I didn't say that's the way it is. I said that's the way it appears. Anyway,
it may appear to you.
Yeah, it does.
It may appear to you, and you're entitled.
All right,
you're entitled to hold that view. But the thing about it is to represent what we have done in recommending this proposal as a climb down and behaving like lambs, when what it entails is guaranteeing the interests of the people we represent, and guaranteeing as well, by the way, that people who depend on public services in this country can look forward to a reasonable public service in the circumstances in which we find ourselves. Suggesting that's being dishonourable is something that I quite frankly have to take issue with you on.
I said it appeared to be so, not that it was actually. Okay, can we...